Today we will learn how to grow some pak choy. Pak choy is a vegetable commonly eaten in the Asian continent. It's also called by scientific name Brassica rapa chinensis. Before we can start, we are going to create a nursery for the vegetables that we are going to grow today. We first measure the container. In this case, I've just used a regular container recycled from one that I got when I ordered some of my food. You can see this container is approximately 6 centimeters in height. Therefore, I shall be preparing dividers that are approximately 4 centimeters in height. How do I go there? First, we'll get some black plastic boards and we'll mark it at 4 centimeters apart. Four centimeters, four centimeters, and 4 centimeters. We don't have to be very precise, but we would like to cut it along the grains of this plastic board. If you look closely to the plastic board, you may notice some grains on it, and therefore I shall cut it according to the grains. I lightly score it on one side only of the plastic board. After which, I split it into half and then I will cut the pot down. In this way, I do not damage the table I'm working on. The next, I would like to create a center divider. So I shall measure it on the base. For this container, I can see it's approximately 4.3 centimeters on the inside. Therefore, I shall cut it approximately 14.3, sorry. And I shall use a scissors for this. The next, I would like to cut 2 in the width, and for the width I see it's approximately 9 centimeters. And I cut it accordingly. Next, I would like to create 2 slits on the longer piece. Since it's approximately 14.3, I would like to divide it 5 from each of the ends. So on each end, I mark 5 centimeters. And at the 5 centimeter mark, I cut it slightly above halfway, and I leave a small slit as well, slightly above halfway. In this way, I can then remove the center. I will continue to do the same for the other side. And for the other one, I cut it right in the center. So that's approximately 4.5. And this is approximately 4.5. Again, slightly above the center mark. I will then use this to assemble my dividers. As you can see, they fit perfectly into each other, and they fit perfectly into my board. Now in this case, I have unfortunately created a bit too long. Not to worry, we can always trim off the sides. And now they fit perfectly. The next thing we need to do is to fill this up with some soil. Now what soil should you be using? Well, you should use a soil that contains a lot of organic matter and as little sand as possible. This is because when we are growing from seeds, the seedlings are very small and they can't really push through very heavy objects. Therefore, if we use something light, for example, we can use cocoa peat, we can use garden peat, or we can use peat moss. All of these are very light. It will allow the young seedlings to come out easily. For today, I'll be using garden peat. Add some soil. This is why we have a board below, so that even if the soil spills, it's still not too bad. We don't need to clean up too bad. How much would we like to put? Well, we would like to put it so it's almost level with the divider. It's now almost flush with my divider, and I can feel it with my hand. We will then spray it with some water. Do not press it down at this point of time, because as we spray the water, it will go down slightly. And we can see the divider coming out. We can also remove and pour it directly if we need to. Now as you notice, they have sunk in by approximately half a centimeter. We can tap it in lightly. The reason I've allowed it to sink in and not completely up to the top is because now I like to plant the seeds, which need to be planted approximately half a centimeter below the soil. The seeds I'll be using today are the pak choy seeds, where I first pour them out a small bit with my hand, as you can see, and we'll put one in each compartment. You may ask me, is it okay to have more than one? The answer is yes. Normally we will put in one or two, because out of these seeds, maybe only one will sprout. However, you may wish to note that we can only have one seed growing in each divider, because if you have more than one seed, you will then have to kill one of the plants, because two seeds together, one of them will strangle the other one out, or they may both end up strangling each other out. Okay, after you have finished all of this, we will then top up with a bit more of the soil that we have. And that should do the trick. Is it always going to be half a centimeter? Well, no, it depends on the seed. If the seed is much bigger, then it will have been planted much deeper. Conversely, if you have a very small seed, it has to be closer to the surface. You then do a bit more of spraying. And there we have it. You then only need to put it into a bright area. In my case, I have labeled the container. But do you need to label all the containers? Well, you may also use a stick. For example, I may use a stick with an orange color to indicate that this is bok choy. But this is only if you don't have small children. If you have small children, it is better to use something blunt. For example, an ice cream stick. Because sharp sticks like this can pose a safety hazard. Well, thank you for joining me today. Goodbye.